It's May. That means there's golf going on. Does it matter for Patrick Mahomes? Yes, it does today.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
You are Locked On Chiefs, your daily Kansas City Chiefs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for joining us today on a Mahomes Monday. We're going to cover the quarterback today, talking about how we keep him and the Chiefs change their scheme to make sure that he stays safe on the field. After everything that's gone on, you do have to make that accommodation. Before that, we're going to get to the strength of what he has done in the past versus what he will do. What does that look like? But we start that Patrick gave us a little bit of news here. I am not one that feels that golf is the most athletic game or that you need the most athleticism to perform. But it is something, it is a couple of aspects that I think just getting out there and doing it. And, as we speak, we're seeing more and more pictures of Patrick out playing the game. It is his foundation's charity, I believe, for this golf tournament. I think a lot's been made of a golf swing. I'll tell you what I think in a bit, but how did you take it?
He is 5 months removed from tearing his ACL, and he's out there doing something. And granted, you can say it's not hugely, athletic, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the fact that he's out there doing it is kind of surprising to me. But obviously, I'm sure he's had conversations with his trainers. He's had conversations with the Chiefs. He's had conversations with Bobby Stroop. And, my main thing on that would have been a question of, can you go out there and actually do golf? Can you go out there and change what you normally do with golf? Because while it doesn't seem like there's a lot of strain, I understand that, and I would agree with that for the most part. If they're saying you cannot do golf like you normally do, you can't put everything into it, can you get your body to not do it, would be my question on that. But I mean, he's out there playing. It seems like they don't seem to have an issue with it, and it is what it is at this point. It's impressive that he's able to get to the point where he is. I'll say that.
Yeah. Now, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Julie's like literally right off camera, just like waiting to catch him if something happens. But I doubt that. I've taken a lesson, folks. I'm not a golfer. Some of my best friends are, and so I am going to start to learn that game. But everything that I got taught between them, driving the cart for them, which I do really well with beverage in hand, and the one lesson that I've taken is it's about controlling the shifting of your weight, right? It's not about hossing it. In fact, that's counterproductive for most people that I've learned. It's not about power delivery. It's about power efficiency. And I think that's really an acronym or a glimpse of what he's going to have to do on the football field as well, because it's about adapting what he's doing in that golf swing, right? And I do think people have taken a lot from the end of that swing about how his leg looks rigid and all that. And yeah, it does. That's the injured leg. It's not like it's a 80-yard pass where he's really putting his whole body into it and all of his force is landing on that forward leg. It's a shift towards it. It does rotate a little bit, and that's perfectly fine from what I understand, at least the lesson that I got. I think people are reading a little bit too much into it. I don't think it's necessarily anything that says he's on track for X, Y, or Z, though. I don't think it's a one-to-one. But what
wait a second. He's not going to be ready week one just because he can go out there and golf?
Well, according to people, some feel that he's absolutely ready to be the all-pro that he's been right now, and some people are like, it doesn't mean anything. I lean towards the latter, but I will say this. It tells me that through this process of training that he's been able to adapt his body and how his body works in order to accomplish that golf swing. And that is sometimes a rewiring of your muscle memory and how you approach the action. And I think that is also something that is going to come into play on the football field and how he delivers the football. And so I'm very interested to see, okay, you've made that change there in what should be a part-time acquisition of skills here, right? It is not your primary training. We know you're doing all the training for your knee rehab in football. But it also tells me that, okay, he's going to be able to adjust certain things. So hopefully that means that he can keep a wider base, that he can make sure that his drops are a little bit cleaner and that his footwork's a little bit cleaner and that he doesn't have to move around the pocket. That requires a number of things that we're going to talk about here in the next couple of minutes here, as we hope you guys are some of our everydayers, because we are your team every day, including Mahomes right now. And it's going to take a little bit to get through that. But my question to you is, adapting, are you concerned, like some people I've talked to are, that adapting how he throws the ball or how he sets up to throw the ball is going to change his proficiency? Because I'm not. I look at it as an evolution of improvement and more efficiency that produces stats and produces production.
I'm torn. And it's not that I don't think he's going to be. The reality is he can't be the same player he was last year. Like you cannot figure that he's going to be able to go out there and run around on the football field. And what did he? And I know I'm being a little overzealous here with this, but what did he run in the Tampa Bay Super Bowl? It was some crazy amount of yards that he ran, or just because of. He can't do that type of thing. And you can't expect that he should be doing that type of thing. Even if they get back to the Super Bowl this year, he shouldn't be expected to be doing that type of thing. You need to tone down his, I don't want to say playmaking ability, but his off the cuff stuff. Now, what actually excites me about that to an extent is, yeah, he's great at getting plays extended and making plays downfield, or making plays that most QBs wouldn't, because he can extend plays. He's fantastic at that.
Mm-hmm.
Can he get back to, can he be a guy that can just be a pocket passer for a season? Because the reality is, if you can do that for a season, and even if you have a little bit of a down year compared to what you normally would have, that sets you up for an even better 2027 and going forward, because the fundamentals are going to carry over from that year that you had to take a little bit off and, go into 2027 a little bit differently. And then when you're fully healthy, you can get to a point where, you're going to be able to be that pocket guy, but also still have that other stuff in your back pocket to be able to, attack and play as you will.
Yeah. I agree. That's going to be the big question, because there are things that come along with that and that ability to break the pocket that make his job easier, that I think he's learned to rely on. We'll talk about that coming up next week when we dig farther into maybe the geometry of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, the other thing that actually is going to be curious to me is, how does the offensive line handle what they're going to be dealing with this year? Because the reality is that if I'm on that offensive line, or if I'm looking at that offensive line, they better be taking pride in the fact that he should not be getting hit. Like, you can't let him get hit, and you need to be taking the thought process of, he's not getting hit. I would take some extra penalties just to ensure he doesn't get hit, because there's no real reason to put him at risk if you can help it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So part of it is them recognizing that the spotlight is going to be on the offensive line and every member of it.
Yep.
It's also about him getting stronger to be able to make those decisions, play that way. I think the strength factor is not necessarily physical. How does he get stronger next? This is it. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing like mine is every single day. One position you have to have before you can even get it open. When the pressure's on you and you need to get the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach people who are actually fit for what you're looking for, whether it's the skills or the experience or the location, wherever that is. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes, less stress, time, and more results. All you need is the right person to cut through that chaos, and the job at Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps. Listeners, right now, we'll get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your premium status up it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. There's a couple of things that go into making it easier to adapt, to get the information you need so that you can make good choices. You guys can get that from us at the Everydayers Club, where you don't have to listen to ads and you can get into our Discord that is exclusive for you. You and us. You can do that at LockedOnChiefs.supercast.com. Go join that today. Make your life a little bit cleaner and easier as we go through the information that you have to have. And I think making Pat stronger is not just what he and Bobby and Julie are doing. It's not just about the physical recovery. I think it's about the mental strength to be able to control yourself, to stay in that pocket and attack the game from the pocket, which is something he can do. But I think most of the time, it's not just feeling pressure that makes him break the pocket. It's because he's looking for better angles. And like I said, next week, we'll go into some of the geometry and some of the play calling that I've been noticing and how that affects Patrick when he's able to do things and what has to change. That change takes mental strength and it takes the ability to control. And I think number one thing for me, and I'm really interested to see what you think, the thing that has to improve for Patrick is not just reading the defense. That is part of it. We'll talk about that when it comes to making him safer. But for me, it's about making sure you can deliver the ball more accurately than you have the last couple of seasons, because it is going to cut angles. It is going to change windows of when you have to deliver that ball.
Well, part of that is the platform that he uses to throw. Like, that's part of the problem that he has on a consistent basis is he does all these off-platform things. And don't get me wrong, it makes great highlights, and when he makes the plays, which is normally how it happens, it's great. But you're also going to want to be trying to take that away a little bit this season because you don't want to have him be off-platform. You don't want to have him out there thinking that he can do what he normally does because you don't want to put that extra tension or the extra possibility on that knee. The reality is even if he's playing, he's not going to be 100%. I don't know that you could feel like he's going to be, I don't know, what number would you put him at? Would you expect by week 1? Do you think he could be at 85 to 90 to 95%? And at what point do you decide you don't put him out there?
That's the hard part is you have to take it relatively. I think an 80% physical ability to contract your muscle and to control it and be able to decelerate your knee angles is applicable and should be in the range there. Is 80% enough to keep you safe? That's part of what they have to measure. I personally would not take the risk unless I absolutely had to if he wasn't what I thought was 90% plus. But 80% of Patrick Mahomes is better than anybody else in this league. That's the problem. It's a sliding scale that's almost impossible to hit because
unless you're national media who like to talk about Josh Allen being the best QB in football, even though he can't make it through the playoffs. But that's neither here nor there.
Josh Allen is probably the next best guy, in my opinion, too.
Oh, absolutely. No,
but
I agree.
They say that because of the results, right? Not about how he plays the game. Josh makes some mistakes at times. I think it's tunnel vision at times. And I think that's something that Patrick has not had to deal with. And I almost think he needs the opposite. He needs to understand better, not just, I'll see it when I see it. And if I have to break the pocket, I'll find who's open. Don't find who's open. Have somebody that you know can beat X, Y, or Z and have a secondary read so you can just deliver the ball. I think it's about trusting those targets a little bit more and him just getting the ball out.
And I would argue that Josh also gets a little bit more favoritism because he has more touchdowns because he runs the ball in from 2 yards out more often than Mahomes does. And that seems to carry a lot of weight. People like QBs that score a lot of touchdowns, and Mahomes isn't going to be doing that, generally speaking. And quite frankly, that's the other side of it. I wouldn't want Mahomes to be doing what Allen's been doing. And the other side of it for Josh eventually is you're not going to be able to continue to do that because you're going to take enough hits where it's going to start hurting you sooner rather than later. I mean, I know he's a big QB, but that is going to add up over time. So something to consider there. But when you look at Mahomes, it's you have to make him strong. You have to make him feel like he's comfortable back in the pocket. You have to get him. And the bigger thing for me, when you start talking about getting him strong and getting him to the point where he can be, is he needs to be spending, in my mind, 90% of the time where he's doing his rehab and his mental stuff. He's working on the mental side of the game. You need to be specifically thinking, I can't be breaking the pocket every single play. I can't be breaking the pocket 30% of the time either. I need to be staying in the pocket as much as possible, shifting my weight around and moving up and down in the pocket, back and forth, however you need to. But you can't break the pocket on a regular basis. And you cannot be trying to go out there and win every single game with amazing plays. Just do what the offense is asking you to do. And part of that is also going to be on Reid and Bieniemy to make the play calling line up with what they need from him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's becoming, I think, what is going to be the bigger safety margin is how that all works. We'll dig into that here in a little bit. But I'll say this, no matter how strong he gets physically, the thing that I think will change and determine how well this season goes is how disciplined he's able to be mentally. And that includes not just him, but Andy Reid as well, because I do foresee a point where we do feel he's ready, whether he's gotten on the field before we thought he was ready or not. But either way, no matter how strong he gets, he's still not, to your point just a minute ago, he's still not somebody that should be carrying the ball on the goal line. He should still not be, if he runs that option ever again, it'll be too soon for me. So I'm okay for that. That's why Justin Fields is here.
You know he's going to, but
that's the problem.
As long as it's not this year, I'm okay with it coming back eventually, especially when you start talking about, generally speaking, those are bigger games that he's doing that. It's not like he's doing that in most regular season games. He's doing that when it's crunch time in the playoffs and you kind of feel like it's an over my dead body type game. And actually, when we get into making him safe, I actually have something specific I want to talk about some other players on this team that are going to be have to help make him safe. And I'm not talking about the offensive line, so we'll get into that in a couple minutes. But when you look at him being strong, and I agree with you, use Justin Fields. Like you talk about making him strong. Okay, make him strong. Have Justin Fields on the field at the same time as Patrick Mahomes. And I don't care if you put Justin Fields as the quarterback and Mahomes broke out as a wide receiver to an extent. Like, obviously, you're taking Mahomes out of the play. I get that, and I'm fine with that. But my point is, if you're going to use Justin Fields in his legs in some way, shape, or form, get them both on the field at the same time. I have zero problem with that at all whatsoever. Use creativity. You've never been in a position where you have a QB to the extent that you have Fields. And I know that there are a lot of people that are down on his skill set, but there's still value there that you can bring in and have him during the regular season. And it doesn't have to be 5 or 10 plays in a game. It could just be 1 or 2 plays every couple games, but that could make all the difference, especially when you start talking about in the goal line and doing different things down there.
Yeah. And I don't think it has to be limited to running. Although I would like to see that diamond formation they go to in the backfield sometimes include that second quarterback, because I think that is just too much confusion for the defense to predict comfortably. It also would help keep Patrick safe. And that is the name of the game. They have to do 3 things to get that done. Those are next. The NBA playoffs are here and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started right now. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Just turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. FanDuel's super easy, and that's the reason that we use it, right? Especially in the playoffs, everything's right there in one place, easily accessible. You get stats, trends, matchups, all by making the picks, which makes the whole experience feel like a lot more informed, and you're not just going with your gut. You have more information to work on. Use the website. You can get into everything that you want, whether it's the matchup that you're looking for X player to out-rebound his opponent, etc. Anything that you want to get out offers in, you can go do it. It's super easy to navigate the app, and the playoff basketball is even more engaging from start to finish. So head over to FanDuel and get started. It's FanDuel.com. Play your game. Safety is an illusion. You can do what you can do, but you got to manufacture your own safety net, and I think that's something they have to be focused on. We'll keep that theme as we go through preparations for OTAs, as they're looking to get back out in the field here towards the end of the month. But make sure you're with us. We cover Mahomes sometimes on a dedicated day like today, and we cover all the other aspects of this team, including the rookie class that I'm really interested to see their first episodes on the field with veterans.
Yep.
That's coming up. So make sure if you only hear one show a week, that's great. Double that up, triple that up, so you get a little bit more information as we get going in the off season.
And
now that
really
said,
quick, starting this week, our 10s are all going to be focused on going through each and every game on the schedule for the next couple of weeks. So be sure to tune in for those to get our thoughts on the schedule and the different games that we're going to have.
Yeah, get caught up on the opponents and how we think they need to attack them. It's going to be a good time. Making Patrick safe starts with Patrick, yes, and I will come back to that. But I know you had a couple of points. I just want to, before we even get down that road, it's got to come, I think, from the top down as well. I think
sure.
Andy's got to protect him from RPOs. I think Andy's got to make sure that they're running from under center and they're doing everything they can to make it as multiple and as protected as possible.
And I would actually argue that it even goes above Andy Reid, because I would say that this comes back to the entire offseason and the entire plan that Veach had. And obviously I know Reid is involved in that as well, but it comes down to, how do you protect Patrick? Well, you get him the best players around him that you possibly can, and you have to do that through offensive line play. You have to do that through everything when it comes to the offense. So I do think that it probably starts even necessarily above Reid to an extent. But honestly, we kind of talk about offensive line, but the guys in my mind that could really help Mahomes be safe or keep him safe are going to be Travis Kelce and the wide receivers. And what I mean by that is you have to get open. So you have to figure out a way to beat man coverage, because the Chiefs haven't been good about beating man coverage. And that's part of the reason Mahomes has moved around so much. You have to be in your zones when you have to find the holes in the zones when you're running against zone coverage. You have to be able to read the different coverages. But the bigger thing is like, if you get to a point where, okay, the ball should be arriving if it's going to arrive and it doesn't, you need to be getting back to a situation where you're opening yourself up to Patrick, where he can make a throw where he doesn't have to move 5, 10, 15, 20 feet to be able to make that throw. You need to be getting into a window where you open up to him, and that is one way to help make him safe.
Well, and I will piggyback on you there, because I do think the pass catcher group is one that we needed to hit. But I will say this, there are a lot of factors that go into how you make yourself available to the quarterback, right? And I think having a new coach in the wide receiver room is certainly going to help.
Yep.
Obviously, they're not changing coaches in the tight end room. Travis Kelce is going to be Travis Kelce. He's not as explosive as he was. He still has the ability to shake coverage, though. And so for me, I'm looking for Travis Kelce to come in a little bit lighter, a little bit more trimmed down. Same thing for Wiley. If he's going to have any chance of producing in this offense on this team, he's got to play quicker. And that's where it comes to me on route running, the suddenness to the break, not just the stem. Yes, you got to eat up the stem pretty quickly, especially for the tight ends, but you have to be able to sudden in your change of direction so that Patrick has a little bit more of a window of where you're actually open for you. And I think that's important for how he sees the game and how he'll be able to deliver the ball, not just efficiently, but quickly to get it into the hands of those pass catchers.
Yeah, and I would say that it goes a little bit further than normal for Kelce, because Kelce is used to Mahomes being able to scramble around and know what Mahomes is going to do before Mahomes does it, and Mahomes knows what Kelce is going to do before Kelce does it. Those guys got to be on the same page, and that seems a little cliche and a little bit easy to say, but it should change a little bit this year. You're right. He needs to be leaner. He needs to be a little bit quicker, and I get all that, and I don't disagree with you. But Kelce also needs to be of the thought process of I can't be expecting Patrick to break the pocket and run into an open area and, me get to an open area so he can hit me. I need to be breaking back to him to help in that area if the ball's not out in the 2 to 3 seconds that it should be. You can't expect him to be trying to break the pocket like he has normally, and I hope they don't put him in that position. And you're right. We started this whole conversation in this segment talking about it has to start from the top down, and it has to start with Andy Reid. It has to start with Eric Bieniemy. I would even go a step further and say it also has to start with Chad O'Shea. Chad O'Shea has to get those guys better in the wide receiver room of knowing where being able to read the defenses is one thing. Knowing where the soft spots and zones are going to be and being able to get open in man coverage are going to be two huge keys to keeping Patrick safe this entire season.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That room in particular has to do everything that it can to help not just Patrick, but to help that offensive line group. And I know we spent a lot of time talking about the right tackle. Well, the left tackle is a second-year player who didn't have a full season. So it's not like Josh Simmons is just like, oh, he's going to be an all-pro, we'll just plug him in. You still have to do things to help those guys be able to hold up in protection, especially starting week 1 against Benito.
And if I'm Kansas City, I'm also considering the thought process of kind of changing the way you run your offense this year. And I'm not talking about just running the ball, which I think is also going to be part of making him safe. I'm talking about specifically keeping more guys in and maybe going to 6 offensive linemen or keeping a tight end to help block on a regular basis and not putting your tackles in a situation where they have to be on islands, especially early in the season. If I'm Kansas City, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, okay, for the first week of the season, especially against the Denver Broncos, I'm probably only going to have 4 going out in routes, or 3 out in routes, and having the tight end and the running back help block. And yes, I know that's going to slow things down and it's going to change things, but you can adjust and have guys as dump off options and still get some yards against the Denver Broncos, I think. So to me, I do think that you need to consider not putting your tackles on islands, because that is a recipe for disaster, especially against the Denver Broncos team that's going to be sending as much pass rush as they can, trying to test Mahomes as much as they possibly can early.
Yeah. And folks, I know Cooper's on the other side too. I feel there's a little more threat from Benino himself, but that's okay. I think there's also a concept that I know they want to get back to running those 3-by-1s with Travis as the isolated guy. Not that he has to be. You could still run those from an empty backfield if you're in 12 personnel and keep that other tight end in there to get in the way, to help those tackles. I think that's something that they can play with, going especially from a power with a bunch to motioning into 3-by-1 with Travis out there and still having an extra blocker. So there's conceptual things that Andy Reid's going to have to do as well. And we'll talk about Andy through the processes as we go, because he's got to undergo a transformation as well. I know he's going to say, nah, we're going to run our offense. We'll adapt it to Patrick where we have to, but we're going to try to do our thing. Okay, that's fine. Some of those things have what's led to Patrick being in this position in the first place.
Yep.
So the overall, and maybe we'll do a whole show on this later this week, folks. Make sure you come back and check it out. Is how important is the evolution of Andy Reid right here? Somebody who hasn't necessarily changed with the times as much.
Well, and the evolution of Andy Reid is, generally speaking, he is coming out with something new every single year. We didn't see that last year. And I don't know what kept him from coming out with something new last year, if that was just a wear out from all the other previous years, and maybe that was it. But he has got to adapt. He's got to change his offense to an extent. And quite frankly, I do think that when you go out and you spend $15 million a year, you're going to have to adapt your offense to use the running back that you're paying all that money to get value out of it. And I'm not talking about running Walker into the ground, but I am talking about having him on the field and having the ball run probably 40 to 45% of the time, especially early in the season. Get the running game going, get Walker going. There's no reason not to try to attack with the running game and try to take more pressure off Mahomes, which is going to make him safer and get him going to a point where, I don't care. And I know a lot of people won't like this, but I don't care if Mahomes goes out there and has a couple of 200-yard passing games for the first 3 or 4 games. Like, it doesn't matter to me. If they're winning, even if it's ugly, if they win, I don't care if he doesn't have the great and gaudy stats, because the reality is he's likely not going to play much in the preseason, if at all. And the first couple of games is him getting back into shape and getting into football shape and getting him ready to actually try to be ready for what is more important, which is January and February.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all a process of evolution. We're going to get into a lot of the other aspects as we go through. We're definitely going to hit on what the rookie class looks like in our Chiefs Overtime segments. There's separate shows this week, and starting this week, we're going to go through every game in the schedule so that you can get that feedback about what it looks like from here as we start. Things will change, but we're going to break it down show by show, game by game. We hope that you will join us like you do every other day. We thank you for being with us, especially you everydayers, because we couldn't do it without you. Have a good one. We'll catch you next time.